ladies and gentlemen. How you doing? It's Friday, January 28, 2022. We're just about 24 hours away from the Royal Rumble in the armpit of the Midwest, known as St. Louis, Missouri. What's going on, everybody? It's your truly Josh Lopez. Welcome to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Hoops Podcast. Make sure to subscribe right now. Like this video, tell a friend about the Hoops Podcast. We are 6 episodes away from reaching episode 300, which will take place on March 10th, 2022. So make sure to put it in your calendars. Don't let your camera or iPhone or whatever device fool you, whatever screen you're looking at right now. Don't let that screen confuse you. We got a longtime good brother of all good brothers back on the feed here. Glad to have my friend Andrew Baydala on the program today. It's been a long time coming. I think the last show we did was a football preview show, which tells you how fast time has gone by. So, Mr. Baydala, what's going on, man? Welcome back to the Hoops Podcast.
Josh, thanks for having me. Yeah, it's been a while. 21 weeks, I think me and you haven't been on a podcast or a YouTube screen together or a video platform together. So it's always good to get back. Royal Rumble season's officially upon us. Congratulations on almost 306 episodes away. That's an accomplishment, but it's Royal Rumble season. We're a game away from the Super Bowl for both the AFC and the NFC. And it's getting interesting. This is my favorite time of the year.
You can't go wrong either way with this type of season. Before we get to wrestling and the Royal Rumble, I do want to mention really quick, coming up next Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, we have AEW Dynamite coming up in Chicago at the Wintrust Arena. I've been to a wrestling show at the Rosemont Horizon. I still call it the Rosemont Horizon, but the Allstate Arena. I got to check out Punk's debut at the United Center. Now, going to the Wintrust Arena, which is the home of the DePaul Blue Demons. Really curious to see how this venue is going to be. It's actually right around Soldier Field, so there's a lot of news coming around the city now with the Bears and everything. And I wanted to start off with a little bit of football off the top. And since the news topic that's been hovering around the interwebs over the last couple of days, I just want to get your thoughts from the outside looking in, Drew. What's your thoughts on one of the Bears getting Ryan Poles, who's was the assistant director of player personnel for the Chiefs as our new general manager, and Matt Eberflus, the defensive coordinator of the Indianapolis Colts, is our new head man. What's your thoughts from the outside looking as far as what my Bears have been doing the last couple of days?
Well, I think that they might have found their quarterback. I'm not sure. I think that's the biggest problem in this league is finding, the right guy at the helm, and that would be your quarterback. I also do believe that coaching is like 1A and 1B with your quarterback. You need solid foundation in your coaching. I'm not quite sure on the hire. If it's me, I would have went guns a-blazing after Brian Flores. I can't believe Flores is still out there. I don't know what happened in Miami besides him maybe wanting Tua or the ownership wanting Tua and he not being on the same wagon or, on the same path as them. So I would have 100% went after Brian Flores. Josh, a lot of these coordinators turned head coaches really don't pan out. There's a couple of them. Obviously, you got your McVays and you have your Shanahans who are fighting for the right to represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. But 9 times out of 10, I mean, these younger coordinators, and everyone could say Andy Reid came from this tree and that tree, and you're right. But you miss more than you hit. And, I would have went after Flores, who is a coordinator himself. But I think he did a really good job in Miami. And I think it's a shame that he got canned. I like what you did for personnel besides your head coach, but he's unproven. So, I mean, I can't really, divulge or go into any more than that because, I mean, he's just unproven. It's like when the Jets hired Todd Bowles, failed, and he's a great defensive coordinator in Tampa. So, got a Super Bowl ring now.
That's true. Drew, I think you brought up a good point there. Like, just kind of in wrestling, nothing in the NFL is linear or just guaranteed that's going to last for all the time. I mean, Doug Peterson was the assistant first-time coach. He won a Super Bowl, and then he gets canned 2 seasons later. You just never know. The NFL is probably the most toxic organization or sports league when it comes to the longevity of people in front offices, outside of owners and head coaches. I'm taking a wait and see approach. Just as a scarred Bears fan I'm 27, so just the majority of my life, just running the ship of, okay, one time we get an offensive guy, then we got a defense guy. You go from Mark Trestman to John Fox. You go to John Fox and Matt Nagy. And I'm not going to come in here and tell you that Matt Eberflus is a bad hire. I will say that Eberflus reminds me of the Even Flow song from Pearl Jam.
Love the Pearl Jam reference. What a band.
Tremendous band.
I mean, and listen, if you had a quarterback worth half a damn in that Super Bowl that you played Peyton against, you might have won. I mean, your defense was the best defense one of the best defenses that I've ever seen play. And you had, who is it? Rex Grossman?
Rex Grossman. Yep.
Yeah. So sorry, Rex, but. And listen, your organization prides itself on being the Bears, and they pride themselves on being the monsters of the Midway. They're a damn good team. They were a damn good team in the 80s, and they've had success. You've had a guy named Aaron Rodgers in your division for years who have really, hurt both Minnesota, Chicago, and Detroit. But I think now with the potential departure of Aaron Rodgers, Chicago, Minnesota, those are two teams that I would be on the look for, in the upcoming seasons here. But Chicago needs to get it together in terms of who is my quarterback, and the coaching carousel needs to end. They need to find the right coach. Same goes for my Jets. Don't think I'm giving my Jets a pass too, because it's brutal. It's brutal.
Brutal Jones. You mentioned it's been 5 to 6 months since we last had the opportunity to come on a platform like this and discuss about professional wrestling. I know you've been very busy outside of the microphone these last couple of months, and just want to get your thoughts collectively, just the overall vibe of the business from your point of view.
I think the vibe of the business is obviously at its height right now because it's WrestleMania season, because AEW has done some really good things. But I also think that there's a certain, without this weekend, there's a certain staleness coming with wrestling. And I think we'll see that move along. But the vibe of the business for me, AEW is obviously the alternative. They are the adults and 18 to 49's wrestling company that they all love. Majority of them love. And WWE is kind of Disney, which lo and behold, they did a deal with Disney. I believe not in the United States, but I believe it was it Disney in China? Was it? Yeah. So I do think that WWE, they're pulling out all the stops for the Royal Rumble. AEW seems like they're going to pull out a big match, which I thought they would say for a pay-per-view coming up this Wednesday live in Chicago with Punk versus MJF. That's happening. Yep. So I think the buzz is there. I think we talk too much about the Forbidden Door. Like, I'm happy Mickie James is going to show up in the Royal Rumble and all that other stuff. I think they're doing right by her. And it's also great promotion for Impact. But this Forbidden Door stuff is ridiculous. I think, the fans are wanting and hoping for something that's never going to happen. You're not going to see Cody Rhodes and maybe Jon Moxley, but you're not going to see Cody Rhodes and Kenny Omega show up on WWE television or MJF. Like, what does AEW have to gain from that? But the world is talking about wrestling again, especially on Twitter. So I think it's a good thing. It's healthy. And I'm happy that the boys and girls have some place to go besides one. There's options for them to hone their craft and make a living, because I don't know if we see CM Punk in a wrestling ring if it wasn't for AEW. So.
That's true. For me, just looking back at it now, since the whole Forbidden Door concept started, I just think looking back at it now with some hindsight, I feel like the concept of Forbidden Door is good for some engagement on social media, but it's nothing that will ever be sustainable or spark a boom business-wise. As much as a lot of people in the industry feel like Twitter is the only actual gauge of what's going over or not on the collective side of the industry, I just disagree with that. I don't have all the metrics in the world for all these companies' ratings or merchandise sales.
It's a part of it, Josh, but it's not the end all be all. You're 100% right. And I think that everybody wants to have their voice heard, but realistically, it's a small minority that are, that both companies care about. So I don't know. AEW's been on a spending spree. It's a fat roster, and WWE's been slimming down. And it seems like everybody and their mother wants to, have a comment about that. But again, like you said, the biggest thing to me is if I'm a business owner and I sign MJF or I have MJF under contract, I'll just use him as an example. Why in God's name am I going to allow him to go on WWE's television when I'm literally paying him to potentially put them out of business? That I don't understand. That just doesn't. And Tony Khan is a wrestling fan at heart. There's no doubt about that. And he's a wrestling fan the way he promotes. There's no doubt about that either. But he's a very good businessman. And I think business-wise, you're not going to loan some of your best talent to your number one competition. Could you imagine that with WWE and WCW?
No shot. No, I know there was different circumstances that they were dealing with during the Monday Night Wars, but even then, it's just common sense. You're just not going to do that if you have an effective business.
Now, Austin's podcast, Broken Skull Session, sure. I think Moxley would be a hell of a guest. Jim Ross, Taz, I've mentioned this before. Even Dustin Rhodes would be a hell of a guest.
I agree.
But you're not going to get a guy like MJF or Sammy Guevara because their career is short right now. They've only been doing this for so many years on the big scale. So I don't know what that would do for them as well. But again, I think there could be a crossover in that retrospect. But to see them on WWE's television or even WWE stars going over to AEW, is Roman Reigns going to go wrestle on Dynamite or a pay-per-view? What the hell does WWE gain from that? AEW gains massively.
Yeah.
But they can't put Roman over. Just like anybody entering the Royal Rumble from AEW, quote unquote, this weekend or tomorrow, they're not going over. What good business is that? Jericho shows up fine. That makes sense. Okay, whatever. But that's about the only guy, him and Christian, that could get tossed over, and it doesn't make a damn bit of difference. And that's the other thing. Christian, sure, maybe, because the whole Brood thing. Maybe they have Gangrel, Edge, and Christian show up in the Rumble. Who the hell knows? I don't know.
Why not?
Right? I don't know. Who knows?
So tomorrow we got the Royal Rumble taking place at the old Edwards Jones Dome, now the Dome at American Center in St. Louis, where the Rams used to play. Kind of curious to see how this stadium looks with a wrestling backdrop. We had the Royal Rumble at the Alamo Dome in San Antonio in 2017. I remember
with that weak stage. God. A Monday Night Raw stage. I think the stage set up how it looks, it'll be dressed up nice, and I think they'll have a very SummerSlam / Royal Rumble baseball field. It's just going to be those, small LED lights, but it's always a spectacle. I like how they always set up the ring. I think the ring's going to be at the 30-yard line, so it'll be interesting.
How do you feel about WWE pay-per-views on Saturday night? Let's start with that.
I love them to a certain extent because if you're traveling for one, then you can go home on Sunday. And when I have 3 kids, and one of them watches wrestling, so it's nice to be able to have him watch it on a Sunday morning because Saturday night it gets pretty late for him. He's only 5. But I see what they're doing. It's smart. It's a reason for, and they're all about the business. It's a reason for people to come into a city on a Friday. They could go to the event on Saturday, or even if people are local, go to an event Saturday night, and then you're done. You don't have to keep the kids home from school. The kids don't have to stay up late. It's all, at the end of the day, it's all about that demo. And I think it's smart. Unfortunately, I will not be watching the Rumble live, so I'm going to turn off the phone. I have 2 football games that I'm playing in on Saturday night. It is what it is, but I think it's great when there's no UFC fight on, and they definitely don't want to compete with the AFC NFC championship game. I don't blame them.
I got to get this on my chest really quick. With the Elimination Chamber coming up next week, I know they're doing it in Saudi Arabia. I have to mention this is not WWE related, but Impact Wrestling, I'm going to advise you to stop showing your taped pay-per-view specials at the same time as AEW or WWE pay-per-views. I just don't think that's good business. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day, and he told me that we have the Elimination Chamber, No Surrender, and then some type of AAA pay-per-view going on the same night on a Saturday, February 19th. And I get it. You have the Fight TV services, and you can watch it whenever you want. I just don't think it's good strategy to put that out there, especially when people are already looking for the results for that taped show. It's not live. You have no incentive to watch it. I just don't get that strategy.
I would agree with you. And I think, who hit a home run, and I'm not a big fan of the whole blood and guts, even though I was a fan of ECW. But there were some things even in ECW growing up where I was kind of like, nah. I think GCW hit a home run in their time slot. I know they went up against the Bills and the Chiefs, which was one of the best games I've ever seen football-wise in my life. But I do believe GCW hit a home run because there's a good portion of the audience that was watching the Bills and Chiefs that were not going to watch the Bills and Chiefs, or excuse me, that were watching GCW, that were not going to tune into that football game. So I think it was very, very smart of them. There was no WWE. It was a week before their Royal Rumble. There was no AEW. I thought it was smart. Could they have run it on a Saturday? Sure, but I don't know if they get the viewership that they would have on a Sunday night, especially their main events, both of them, went on right after the Chiefs went off the air, the Chiefs and Bills. So I think it was very smart. I think GCW hit a home run. I really do.
So we got 6 matches scheduled right now for the Royal Rumble tomorrow night on the Peacock Network. I want to start off with Edge and Beth Phoenix against Miz and Maurice. This is our mixed tag team match. As I look collectively at the card, I feel that a lot of matches that are non-Rumble related could spew into both selective Rumble matches.
Absolutely.
Outside of Becky Lynch and Doudrop. That's probably the only exception to that rule for me as I look at the card right now. I'll tell you this, Drew. I know there's been a lot of yearly traditional trending feelings towards Royal Rumble and just like knee-jerk reactions going into a Royal Rumble. Oh, this time at this year, we know who's going to win the Rumble. We know who's going to be surprises. We know this. I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at it the wrong way, but I feel this year's Rumble specifically, I can't tell you off the top of my head who should win or who's actually going to win either Rumble match. Am I wrong?
No, I don't think you're wrong in that assessment at all. And I do agree with you. I think the Rumble matches, some of them could 100%, the singles matches or the title matches or even the tag matches could spill into the Rumble itself. I think you bring up a fantastic point there. I do believe that this Edge, Beth Phoenix, Miz and Maurice match was something that Edge wanted on to do. He was on his list. He wanted to do this. I think he wanted to team with his wife. I think his wife wanted to do it as well. And I think this is a perfect scenario for them. So kudos to them. If my wife was in the wrestling business and I was a wrestler, I would want to have a tag match with her too before I call it quits. So yeah. I'm intrigued by the match. They've done a good job by it. Do I think Edge gets into the Rumble? I think there's 22 spots taken. Yeah, I could see Edge getting into the Rumble. I could see the Miz too. And I don't think this year's as predictable as everybody wants to make it out to be. I mean, I think we all had the 2018 Rumble, which was in the Alamo Dome in San Antonio, pegged, right? Everyone knew who was going to win that. And then all of a sudden, Randy Orton won it. We were all like, what? So I don't believe that this Rumble is predictable. I have my 2 picks, and one of them is not even in the Rumble right now. So we'll have to see what happens.
When I look at this Miz mixed tag match here, I got to say, I don't think Maurice gets enough credit in how she carries herself with her character, with the audience. I remember a couple weeks ago on Raw, just having her time on her own, conducting that segment face-to-face with Beth Phoenix. And, even for Maurice, who's not, widely regarded in the Trish Stratus or Litas of the realm of the industry, I feel like Maurice is very good and underrated in how she carries herself for the role that she plays.
Absolutely.
And, I think the match layout would be fine. I mean, you got 4 veterans, you got 2 Hall of Famers. I think they know how to lay out a good story that'd be into this match. If it was me, Drew, this would be the match I would have start the show tomorrow.
Okay. All right. I don't hate that. I think that obviously you have Edge, you have Beth Phoenix, and you have The Miz, who can carry a match all by themselves, any of those 3. And then you put in Maurice, who's going to get your cheap heat spots and all that other stuff. And I think she's perfect for it. I think the match is intriguing. I think it's a smart move, especially because Edge won the Rumble last year at the number 1 spot. So I don't think he should be in the Rumble this year, but I could see them putting him in. But I mean, the thing with that is that if Edge does get into the Rumble and they go where I think they're going for WrestleMania, I don't know how Edge doesn't win the Rumble. So I think it's a smart idea to maybe keep him out, but you never know with WWE. We'll have to wait and see. I think that Edge and Beth Phoenix get the victory here. And I think to kick off, I don't hate it, but I'll save what I think kicks off for when we get to that match.
Let's get who you have win this match really quick before we get to the
Edge and Beth for sure. I think they should get the win here. And I think it's a feel-good moment. And then Miz and Maurice kind of push each other back and forth, and maybe Maurice leaves in anger. I don't know. We'll see something like that.
Yeah. I agree with you. I'm going to go with Edge and Beth Phoenix. Let's go to the next one here. We got Becky Lynch putting her Raw Women's Championship on the line against Doudrop. I was talking this on the podcast this week, and when you look at how WWE chooses certain performers to fight their champions at pay-per-views, I think that's the strategy that probably needs to change as 2022 goes on. So as I say that, I'm actually intrigued by this match. Don't get me wrong, I love Liv Morgan. She's awesome to see, and I think she's improved a lot in the ring and her character over the last couple months, but I don't think there was a need to see a third Becky Lynch Liv Morgan match in a month span. So I understand why she's not having that rematch. Also coincide with Bianca Belair. I don't think you need to do that rematch. That could also spew into another match we'll get into in a couple of minutes. But for me, I'm intrigued with Piper Niven because it's a different matchup. It's a different fight, if you will. It's a different character approach. Okay, again, it's heel versus heel, but I think Piper could bring something else out of Becky that maybe Bianca and Liv weren't able to from an in-ring point of view. I think it's pretty obvious that Becky Lynch will retain her, but these are one of the matches that I don't think, oh my God, Doudrop got buried because she lost. I don't think that's that case. It's a different match to the show. Can you call it a placeholder feud or match? Sure. But I think for what it is, I think it's actually good for Doudrop. So I have Becky retaining here, but for me, my takeaway from this is that I think throughout the calendar year, you don't have to do 3 straight months of the same people fighting each other. What's your thoughts on that?
I would agree with you 100%. I think this is perfect for Piper, Doudrop. I think it's, again, you've seen, the men's matches here for the Royal Rumble in terms of World Heavyweight Championships or Universal Championships are kind of mega matches, right? They're some of them are dream matches, both of them, I would say. Seth and Roman, who I don't think have ever locked up for a title since the Shield is broken up. I could be wrong. I know Seth cashed in on Roman and Brock at WrestleMania, but I don't know if they've gone one-on-one. I could be wrong, but especially for a championship. But I will say this, Brock and Bobby's obviously a dream match. This match reminds me a lot of how they used to do like Brett and Razor in 93, where Razor was kind of like not fully established, Razor Ramon, Scott Hall, but he was getting a world title shot. And that's what I think Piper Niven is doing here. Doudrop, I think she's getting a women's title shot with Becky, who's going to roll into WrestleMania as your champion. But I think it's a coming out party for her. If she shows that she can hang, which I think she will, she's a hell of a hand and she's a fantastic talent. I think that, we'll have a good match, if not maybe one of the best matches of the night. And I think it's a coming out party for Doudrop Piper Niven. And I think going against Becky Lynch is not something that should be scoffed at, even if she loses. Everybody's buried though nowadays, Joshy. Everybody.
Yeah. One loss, you're done, pal. Forget about it. I will recommend everybody to go check out Becky Lynch's appearance on the Broken Skull sessions. I watched that earlier this morning. I thought it was pretty good, so I recommend everybody to go check that out on Peacock. Next match we'll get to here. We'll start off with the women's Royal Rumble match. I think it's probably the time of the show where they would have this Rumble match. We got a big slew of announcements coming into this pay-per-view of some of the veterans and legends that are going to appear at the Rumble. I know some people have debated that strategy, but with the legends that they choose, I don't think that necessitates a surprise pop because these are legends that we've seen in previous women's Rumble matches over the last couple years. The element of Mickie James being added to this is great. I think Mickie James is one of the greatest female professional wrestlers of all time, and her being a knockout champion, I think that's a good notch for them and just good business all around. This is one of the matches that I'm 50-50. Like for me personally, I'm not going to be affected by who loses this match because there's so many different stories that could come out of this particular Rumble match. I think more for the women than the men, to be honest with you, Drew. Because look at this. You have Charlotte Flair, who's the SmackDown Women's Champion. Just like in New Japan Pro Wrestling, if you win the G1, you get to choose who you fight at Wrestle Kingdom. If you win the Royal Rumble, you get to choose who you put the title on the line at WrestleMania. I don't think you have to do this every year where you have your champions in the Rumble, but sporadically, I think that Charlotte will obviously be the X factor of this match. And I'm curious to see how that story plays out in between. Initially going to this pay-per-view, I was feeling that Sasha Banks was going to be the one to win the Rumble, but she's dealing with an injury. I think Bayley's still a couple weeks out or a month out away from her return as well. I'm really excited for this match. Let's start with this. What's your thoughts about Mickie James being in the Rumble, and then also your thoughts of them announcing some of the legends that were going to be in this match beforehand?
Well, I think what they were trying to do is get ahead of the whole. You only have 15 women on the roster, because that was coming, right?
Right.
You only have 15 women on the roster, which they probably have more. I was just throwing out a number there. So I think they wanted to get ahead of it. I also think what they're trying to do is capture interest, fan interest in the Women's Royal Rumble, because realistically, there's only a handful of women, truthfully, that I believe can come out on top of this Royal Rumble. Bayley being one of them. I think Bayley is closer than everybody is assuming. That's an assumption by me too. I just think that Bayley's kind of old school and she will keep it to herself. I don't know. She might be telling one or two people that she's good to go and they're not going to say anything. I have no idea, but I think Bayley will be in this Rumble. But I think they were trying to capture interest and they've done a good job. I believe they owed Mickie James everything that went down. And
Yeah.
Mickie, never stated that I'm never going back there. I'd never do anything. Like, I don't believe she ever said that. So for everyone being like, oh, Mickie took a payday. Well, yeah, so would you. I mean, if somebody came knocking at your door with some money and an appearance in the Royal Rumble and you're the Impact Women's World Champions, you get the cross promotion. I think it's solid. But, I think Bayley's closer again than everyone believes. I think she shows up. I think Ronda's in this Rumble. I like that they have Charlotte Flair in the Rumble as well. We did this in 2020, though, I believe, with Brock Lesnar. And I think Keith Lee knocked him out. So, again, I think you're dead on. We don't need to do this every year. Every other year is fine. It really depends who's going to win this match, where they want to go for Mania. And that's why I think this Royal Rumble is very unpredictable. Are we getting champion versus champion for both the women's and the men? Is that what WrestleMania is going to be? Are we combining championships? Are we done with the dual champs? Are we? We don't know. We're going to find out on Saturday night live from St. Louis, Missouri. Now, my money is on either Bayley or Ronda. But if they're going champion, then Charlotte's going to win, right? I don't know.
There's so many. There's a lot of options you could go with, and I don't think there's just one set game plan you have to go with. And we were there for WrestleMania last year, and the Smackdown women got to main event night one of last year's WrestleMania, and the crowd was in it for some parts of the match. Some of them were just sitting on their hands. Does Raw get the opportunity this year? Do you have Bianca win and get her redemption story for night one? Do it back-to-back years? I don't know. I think Bianca is obviously a early pick to win this match, and I can see that.
What happens if Ronda wins, though, Josh? Let's just say Ronda's in it. She wins. What title does she go for? Does she go after Charlotte Flair, or is it Becky? Because if it's Becky, then you could forget about Bianca. If it's Charlotte, then you could have Bianca versus Becky. That could happen, but we've seen that already,
Yeah, the Ronda Rousey thing is intriguing to me. I do think it'd be a good gift for WWE business-wise going into WrestleMania if she does show up and wins the Royal Rumble. But also kind of like how Becky Lynch showed up at SummerSlam. Maybe you could have Ronda Rousey show up after her match with Doudrop.
You could. That's a good way. Yeah, it's a good booking strategy. It's interesting because you want to do right by Bianca because she is very, very talented in the ring, but she's just not getting the reactions you would think that she would be. I mean, I would push her to the moon, but at the end of the day, the crowd needs to be behind her. And it seems like they were until what happened at SummerSlam. And I think the crowd right now doesn't know whether to put stock in her, whether they want to get behind her. Because I've been to a couple shows and I don't hear the reactions I used to.
Right. I agree with you. You can even tell it on television too when you watch the shows as well. There's a couple of surprises I've thought of women that we haven't seen due to injury. I think Asuka could possibly be one of the entries for the Rumble. I think
read the dirt sheet. Everyone's already talking about it, I guess. So I'm trying to stay off Twitter from when I'm done here. I'll promote it and then I'm done. I'm going to turn it off.
Well, stay away from the cesspool. Stay away from the echo chamber. It's not worth it.
I hear you.
Lacey Evans, I think would be a nice, I don't know, surprise, but I like to see her back on the screen. I think it'd be cool to have her back.
That's a good call, Josh. That's a good call. One I didn't even think of. That's a really good one. I like that.
is there anywhere in your scenario where you could believe that Alexa Bliss could win this Rumble match and go after Charlotte? Because when the whole Lily thing went down, Charlotte is the one that ripped it. It's a scenario that you could bring Alexa Bliss to SmackDown and go after Charlotte Flair. What's your thoughts on that?
I think that's a good call too. I think if you go the route of Ronda and Becky, I don't think Ronda should be in the Rumble. I think Ronda should come out after the match with Doudrop with Becky, and I think Becky should get on the mic and just talk as she always does, and then have Ronda get that pop. Because if Ronda enters the Rumble, she has to win it, and I think the money match there is Ronda and Becky, especially at WrestleMania to main event a night, which I think will happen if that's the route they choose to go, if they're not doing title versus title. I love the Alexa Bliss thing because Alexa's been off for a while. Bray Windham was released. So Bray Wyatt, Wyndham Rotunda was released. So I think that there's a lot of stock that they need to fulfill in Alexa. And I could see it. And it's a good point. Charlotte did rip Lily to shreds. And truthfully, they haven't really even mentioned that until this past couple of weeks when they were showing flashbacks. So I think it's an interesting wrinkle, and I could easily see Alexa winning it, if not Bayley. Again, I'd love to see Bayley and Charlotte at WrestleMania on night 2. Doesn't need to close the show because I think Roman versus whomever will close that night. But I really do like the whole possibility of Bliss or Bayley winning the Rumble if they decide not to do title for title.
And for those watching, Brandy Rhodes will not be in the Women's Rumble match. Don't get your hopes up, okay? Let's go to the next one here. Let's get into Brock Lesnar versus Bobby Lashley for the WWE Championship.
This should open.
I don't disagree with you. It was either the mixed tag match or this one for me, as far as ones I wanted to open this show. Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley is a match that a lot of people, especially on social media, have been clamoring for over the last 5 to 6 years since Lashley came back to WWE. When you're doing knock-knock jokes on worldwide television, you're a babyface. and
he got it over.
I've been loving everything I've been seeing from Brock Lesnar, this good guy character, and it's crazy that Brock Lesnar could carry a program on the mic and not have Heyman speak for him.
And they're selling Brock Lesnar flannels, Josh.
I saw that.
And people are buying them.
Are they selling the belt buckle too?
I don't know. They should. I mean, I'm sure they will, but I'm just saying, like, how marketable is this guy, number one? And he is a promoter's dream. I mean, he is. They could, anything that they slap that logo on, or he comes out with a cowboy hat or the onion looking haircut that I don't know if I could pull off. I'm balding, so the sides don't really grow, but the middle does, so I could probably pull it off. I would look like an idiot. Brock can do whatever he wants and look just fine because he would eat people. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know who's going to buy the flannel, but it seems like people are. It's crazy to me that Brock is carrying this whole feud without Paul Heyman realistically.
I think Blake could probably pull off the
good old Blake Mitchmore, huh? He got you saying stooge. You are a huge Pat McAfee fan, are you not?
Yeah, I think for me right now, Pat has the best daily talk show for sports. That's
because Pat's him. Pat doesn't give a fuck. I'm gonna drop an F-bomb here. He doesn't care about anybody. He is just him. He's him. He's himself on WWE TV.
Yeah. And for me, I just kind of had it enough with a lot of the networks where you have the people that talk in the same cadence and have the same talking points, and they're disingenuous, and you just come off like stooges and clowns. So, like, it's not just Pat. I really enjoyed the crew that he has on the side. I think AJ Hawk is very underrated for his comedic timing and how they have that back and forth. Even the fact that Pat McAfee could make me sit and try to enjoy an Aaron Rodgers conversation tells you how good that guy is, because I'm not a Rodgers guy. So,
well, I would hope not. He's tormented you guys for decades, so I get that. I totally get that. But yeah, no, Pat's the best thing going in WWE right now, in my opinion, on the mic. So you know, and that was a hell of a decision by Michael Cole. I think he probably fought tooth and nail because that is prototypically not what WWE looks for, but I think it was a fantastic hire, and I think he makes the shows entertaining, very entertaining.
Let's go back to this match here. The one thing I was missing from this was maybe a backstage conversation with Paul Heyman and MVP. Maybe that's something we see in the video package before this match. Maybe that's something they already recorded, and I mean, I'm talking about my ass. Maybe something we see tomorrow on the show. But for me, I'm intrigued by the fight. You know, this is the first time these guys are actually having a pro wrestling match with each other, and for me, I know there's been some complaints and concern about this possibly being a squash match due to what happened at day one. But if you really look at it, it really wasn't a squash match. There was offense added to Brock in that fatal 5-way match. Plus, for me personally, I don't think you need Brock and Bobby to have a 20-minute match. I don't think you need to have that. You have a traditional house fight match.
Yeah, 10 minutes tops.
Yeah, 10 minutes tops. So for me, there's other ways in other scenarios you could possibly have Bobby Lashley win this match. I don't think it's 100% that Brock's going to win, but there's the caveat of potentially ending the brand split and merging the titles with each other at WrestleMania. So this could go many ways. I'm just intrigued by the fight. Me personally, I don't give a shit who wins this match, but I'm intrigued for the match part of it and just the transcription point of view. So
could you see Bobby winning the world championship and then Brock winning if they don't decide to go title for title? This is why I think it kicks off. If Brock's going to win the Royal Rumble, I would assume he's probably going to drop the strap, right? Or he could roll in as champion in the Royal Rumble, and that's how you get your title for title. There's numerous ways to go about it. But could Brock get screwed out of the championship on Saturday, maybe due to MVP? There's numerous ways you can go about it. Don't forget the Elimination Chamber is in February, so Brock can drop the title in the chamber too, which would make sense. Brock, has gone through hell and high water, and then all of a sudden you get an Edge who, wins the WWE Championship and then goes off to WrestleMania. I think Brock retains, I'll be honest with you, and I think that Brock does enter the Rumble, but falls just short. That's my thought. Or he wins.
I have Bobby Lashley winning. I know Brock Lesnar's on a poster for Elimination Chamber next month, but I feel like the winner of the Rumble match is going to go after the WWE title. So the Elimination Chamber for that pay-per-view will be determined who will Roman Reigns fight at WrestleMania.
All right, I'm going to propose something. I'm not going to sit on the fence on this one. I'm going to give you a prediction. I think Brock wins against Bobby on Sunday. I think Saturday. I think it kicks off the show. I think Brock enters the Rumble and wins it, drops the title in the Elimination Chamber to Edge.
Edge, okay.
And if that doesn't happen, let's just say Brock does beat Bobby, okay? And he enters the Rumble, which would kind of make no sense if he's not going to win it. And Styles, who's my pick for the Rumble. I think Styles can win the Rumble. And then Brock ends up dropping the chain, giving two different scenarios. Then Brock ends up dropping the title to Edge at Elimination Chamber. You get Edge and Styles at WrestleMania, and then you could still have your Brock Roman matches. There's so many different avenues they could take at this Royal Rumble. And again, if I had to pick something, I want to say Brock wins that Rumble, but it's tough. I think it's 50-50 with Brock and AJ. So I think Brock does beat Bobby in this match.
I'll be curious to see if Roman brings out the Usos during this match because they're barred from ringside for the Universal title match. It'd be something for them. They could interfere in the WWE title match. Just throw that out there as well.
Yeah, that's a little wrinkle. Not bad. Yeah, I think Brock does retain here just so they could leave it open for a possible title for title. And if he doesn't enter the Rumble, he doesn't enter the Rumble. But if he gets into that Rumble, all bets are off. So it's tough. It's tough to pick. Because, my gut tells me AJ Styles is going to win that Royal Rumble, which we'll get to, but I really, really feel that if Brock enters it, I don't know how he loses.
All booking stuff to the side. Let's remember, folks, as Biggie said, two big men bump the beat. Slap me. That's what this match is going to be. So let's talk about the men's Rumble match. Easy transition there. Who do you have as far as like surprise entrance? I think overall this year, I don't think WWE is going to have to rely too much on NXT 2.0 talents as they have over the last
Not at all.
If anybody on that list that that possibly show for me, it's either Braun Breaker or Gunther. Uh, Maybe even LA Knight if you want, but I don't really think they're going
Yeah.
to have any C 2-point talent. There's 21 already confirmed entrants for the men's Rumble match, and you got to figure out some way what other big surprises you wanted to go with. If I was looking at somebody that's outside of WWE, with it being in St. Louis, I think maybe the National Treasure Nick Aldis would be a nice surprise entrant. I'm not. Maybe it's unrealistic, but with his wife,
His wife's in it. His wife's in it,
and it's the NWA territory. I mean,
yeah.
Nick Aldis would probably be my outside WWE pick as far as surprise entrances. What about you? Is there anybody out there that you've heard or you would like to see?
No, I mean, I know that the Undertaker's name has been floated around, but I don't know what that does for anybody. And I mean, Taker, I think everyone is happy where he's at. Obviously the Undertaker is synonymous with WWE and he is the legend of all legends, but I don't know what that does for him or anybody else. If he's, it would be great to see his entrance. He should be one. I've talked about this. This is like a dream scenario for me. If you want to call it a dream scenario, just so you get the entrances and we get it out of the way and we finally get it.
Yeah.
If it's me, and I had the ability to bring a Sting over from AEW, I would have Taker number 1, Sting number 2. Do the entrances. People would be nuts for it. Have the face off and have them exchange left and rights and some kicks into the corner or whatever. And then, we could just relax and we finally saw the entrances and we didn't get the promo packages that we all wanted. I don't think that's even a remote possibility. But that would be the time to pull that trigger. But surprise wise, maybe Moose. I could see that from Impact. Maybe Gangrel. I think with everything going on with how Edge is using the Brood stuff, I think that would make sense. Other than that, no, I don't really know how many surprises there's going to be. I think Tommaso Ciampa is going to be in it. I think you could see LA Knight. Johnny Gargano could be somebody that I see, that's a possibility just because I don't think Gargano, however the hell you want to say it, is going anywhere just yet. I think he's going to wait till after his son or daughter is born. So I think Johnny G could show up in the Royal Rumble and then just, it's a one-off for right now. But I don't know. Surprise-wise, I don't think they're going to be heavily influenced or heavily, NXT'd in this. I don't see that. I don't see Braun Breaker. I don't see Gunther or Walter. I just don't see it. Maybe, but it's just, to me, no. I don't know what it like. They're trying to get away from that being like anything related to Raw or SmackDown or even competition. So I don't know.
Yeah. You mentioned earlier that Roman and Seth could possibly close out the show. I don't mind that. I think this is the one Rumble pay-per-view you could have a title match with their history together. The match is going to be insane. That's the least of my concern. They'll tell a good story. But it also, I don't think it hurts Seth in a way because, a lot of people even say, hey, if Roman and Seth were earlier in the card, maybe you have Seth Rollins come in and maybe he finds a way to win a Rumble, or him and Big E pull a Luger and Brett from 94. They both fall down at the same time. Like, I think for me, this one WrestleMania, the one thing I want for WrestleMania this year is some definitive one-on-one matches. I'm kind of tired of the peer pressure triple threat main event matches because Twitter didn't get who they want to win the Rumble. Or last year with Daniel Bryan. We need to have some established main events. And I think that's an issue industry-wide where there's the identity crisis, and some companies at some point need to double down on decisions. We all make decisions. You either learn from them if it's a mistake and adapt if it's a good one and try to take it to another level. So for me, as far as winners, my original pick was Big E to win the Royal Rumble with my original with Bobby Lashley getting the title earlier in the show. If not, I'll agree with you. I can see AJ Styles.
I think AJ Styles and Edge is happening at WrestleMania. Whether it's for the championship or not, that probably is, that remains to be seen. What's interesting to me, though, and I think all eyes are going to be on it, is everyone still is under the impression that The Rock is going to be at WrestleMania in Dallas, right? And the thing with that is that while it's a strong possibility, I guess anything is possible, right? Anytime they've used Austin for a WrestleMania, they've never used The Rock and Austin at the same time because it's almost like overload. And we've seen Stone Cold be on the promotional material. It seems like he's going to have a part at WrestleMania in Dallas, which just makes sense. So if Seth and Roman main event, which is possible, you're going to get the internet starting to explode where Rock's coming out at the end of this, because remember, we've had Cena come out at the end of his match, Roman's match, and we've had Brock come out at the end of a Roman match. So it's like he's basically, putting people out to pasture, quote unquote, the legends. And Lesnar was not really put out to pasture, but you understand what I'm saying. It's like those big matches, and it only got bigger, right? It was holy shit, it's Cena, holy shit, it's Brock, and now it'd be holy, F-bomb, it's The Rock. So I think that'll set the world of Twitter ablaze. But I'm not trying to waffle here. It's just so interesting to see where they're gonna go, and that's the unpredictability. That's why the Royal Rumble is my favorite event. If my money was down, I think it's AJ winning the Rumble, and I think you get AJ and Edge at WrestleMania for the WWE Championship, and I think Edge beats Brock in the Chamber in Saudi. That's the beautiful thing about what we're getting from that Saudi Arabia event, is it's the Chamber and then it's boom, Mania. It's not Fastlane, Elimination Chamber, and then, Chamber, Fastlane, Mania, and then a Saudi event. They're giving you the Saudi event sandwiched between the Rumble and WrestleMania, which I think is perfect. And that's the way that I would keep it going forward. But we're going to get some questions answered on Saturday. And if Brock's in it, again, not to waffle, it's really tough if you put Brock in it that he doesn't come out on top unless there's some schmaz with the Usos or something to that effect. But it's gonna be interesting. Saturday's gonna be interesting. But again, my money is on Styles winning the Rumble.
That's the great thing about this show tomorrow. Like you said, man, either it's the women's match or the men's Rumble match. You could find 4 or 5 people that could legitimately find their way to win this Rumble.
Yeah, and don't discount Lita. I mean, I think Lita's here in WWE to stay. I don't think I'm breaking any news here. I think she's here to stay. The way that she's been training, the way that I heard a rival organization went after her and she chose to stay with WWE, it seems. I think she inked a new contract. I think there's a really good chance that she wins the Rumble too. For me, this Royal Rumble, last year I kind of saw Edge. We all saw Bianca, right? Yeah. This is the first year since, I would say, 2020. I didn't see Drew winning that Rumble. I thought Brock might. I mean, I didn't see Drew's coming out party. And who won for the women? Was it Charlotte?
2020.
Yeah, I think it was Charlotte because she challenged for the NXT title, which was a shocker, right? Yeah. So I think that this is the first time since, a couple of years, maybe even past 2020, because I guess you could say everyone kind of saw Charlotte coming. I don't know if I did. This is the first time in a long time. It's very unpredictable. It's very, very unpredictable for me. So that's why I enjoy the Rumble, because we don't know. Everyone's mad, right, Josh? Why do they announce all the competitors? They've been doing this for decades, guys. They leave like 5 or 6 open spots. That's it.
Really quick before we get to the main event, as far as one of my favorite things about the Rumble match is that there's grudge feuds that could spew out of this Rumble that could go into WrestleMania. My 2 picks, one of them is obvious, is Randy Orton and Riddle, with it being in Randy's hometown. And also, I know you said that you could possibly see Edge and AJ Styles at WrestleMania. I think we're going to see Edge and Kevin Owens at WrestleMania.
Wow. Okay. All right. I do think you see the demise of Riddle and Randy Orton in this one too. They took the titles off them because I don't think they wanted to have a tag team title match at the Royal Rumble and then throw them in the Rumble. I agree with you here. I think Riddle gets the upper hand on Randy and then he throws Randy out. And I think Riddle and Randy have a singles match at WrestleMania. I think it's a great call. I've been saying it since, I think, SummerSlam. So I agree with you there. And again, I think the Bellas, I think that's something to watch. I think the Bellas might go for the women's tag team championships at WrestleMania. So watch that. Again, I think you're spot on. There's a lot of things in the Royal Rumble that is unpredictable, and it's great. That's what makes wrestling great. It's not a predictable pay-per-view this year around, which is good, in my opinion.
We're recording this in the late afternoon here on Friday, but we're about like an hour and a half away from Smackdown from Kansas City tonight on Fox, the go-home show for Royal Rumble, and we got Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins. I'm
I'm going to
glad.
watch Scream tonight. Sorry, guys. I'm not going to see. I'm going to have to tape Smackdown. I'm going to go see Scream. I want to see that new movie. So there you go.
I got to check that out too. I heard it's good.
Yeah. It's date night. The wife, she gets mad. So
Always
I hear you.
I'm glad that they've been acknowledging the history between these two guys. It hasn't been so much of a character work. The promos they've been having back and forth have been good. Ron saying he created Roman Reigns. He knows how to destroy him. I mentioned it when we were doing the weekly reviews and stuff. Was that I felt like this Joaquin Phoenix Joker vibe from Seth Rollins, and he's been carrying that through this fall and where we are right now going to the Rumble. And
They hit this out of nowhere too, Josh. I don't want you to stop your train of thought, but think about that. They made this feud quickly. I don't think this is where they were going originally. I think the Roman Reigns testing positive thing put a wrinkle in their Brock Lesnar Roman Reigns plans. Now they got Seth coming over because Brock had to win the championship. I don't think this was planned at all. I really don't.
And sometimes that's where the magic starts. That's the charm of the industry. These guys have so much history with each other, and you see the evolution, more importantly, of both guys as main event superstars. They had one pay-per-view match for the title that was one-on-one. It was Money in the Bank in Vegas in 2016, where Dean Ambrose cashed in on Roman Reigns. They've never had a prolonged feud. Roman and Seth have never had a prolonged feud, just like him and Moxley never had a prolonged feud.
Do you like this Joaquin Phoenix, as you mentioned, version of Seth, like the Joker version?
I dig it, but also I was the same guy that was enjoying the Messiah stick because I enjoy good, like old school heel stuff. So
I agree. I think the Messiah thing was good too. I think that it's interesting, and I think people should really understand what Seth's trying to do. He doesn't want to be stale. He's constantly trying to find something that he could sink his teeth into, and I think that's the sign of not just a star, but a superstar and an attraction. And we've been over this a million times. There's a difference between being a wrestler / star and an attraction. And I think Seth could be the next attraction if he's not already.
What was I going to say? And look at Seth Rollins. People are singing his song now too when he comes down to the ring, which is pretty cool. I'm excited for the match. I do think the Tribal Chief will retain somehow, but this should be a fantastic match. And I do hope this is the last match of the show. I do. I really do.
How could you go against Roman Reigns when you're wearing his hoodie? I mean, come on. If I picked against Roman Reigns, I'd have been like, wow, we need to retape this show. But anyways, I agree with you. I think that Roman wins. It's tough for me to even put into words how valuable Roman's reign has been to WWE over this past, 500 plus days? Because without him, I think SmackDown at times could have been insufferable, honestly. So, and not, the past couple of months have been great, but kudos to Roman and what he's been doing. And I think he retains. It'll be interesting to see who he goes against at WrestleMania. I don't think it's The Rock, though. I really don't. I don't think it's Rock and Roman at this year's Mania. I think they save it for Hollywood. Now, I don't know how long Roman holds on to that championship. I've also given a prediction that a lot of people were like, really? And I was like, yeah, Rock and Roman. Again, this is just a thought because I haven't been on here in a while. So I'm going to give you my thoughts. Rock and Roman match could happen at WrestleMania. It should happen night one, right? Rock wins. Place goes bananas. Everyone's like, what the hell? Now, Rock's not going to do SmackDown or Raw the next night, right? Or any of the stuff leading up to it. No. So Roman invokes his rematch clause for night 2. The sales go through the roof. People are going to want to see it. If they don't already have close to 75 to 100,000 people, if you announce a rematch of Roman and Rock, because the fans already got it night 1, and then you announce a rematch, people are going to want to see it again. Or for the people that have already bought night 2 who skipped night 1 because they couldn't afford it, they get the Rock and Roman again anyway. So interesting the way they go. But again, if my money's on it, I don't see Austin and Rock being on the same marquee for an appearance for WrestleMania. I think it's sensory overload. So we'll have to wait and see.
Selfishly for me, I would love to see Stone Cold show up. I'm ashamed to say this. I've never heard the Austin Glass Shatter in person before.
Okay.
So I'm certainly hoping he does show up at Jerry World. They need some levity up in that stadium. So sorry, Blake, but I need to say they need some levity after what happened a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and I will tell you that the last time I was there, which is right behind me, when Austin's music hit, the place went absolutely insane. The only other time I can remember that pop for his music being that loud recently, I want to say was WrestleMania 30. They went nuts for him at the beginning of the show. Absolutely insane. And I don't remember another time. I'm trying to think of another time. I don't remember one being as crazy for him because 23 he was announced. Yeah. I don't think he showed up anywhere else. So
it'll be really interesting to hear a pop if Stone Cold ever showed up in a Chicago show. That would be interesting. He has said in the past that's his favorite building to perform in.
John Cena too.
John Cena. Hey, who knows? Maybe the Peacemaker wins the Rumble tomorrow.
Yeah, there you go. That could be a surprise entry because they could promote the hell out of that too. I mean, I could see it. I could definitely see it. Who knows?
We got the Rumble tomorrow. Don't forget to check out ProWrestlingTransfers.com. One of the other reasons why the Rumble is one of my favorite pay-per-views to cover because the Royal Rumble match is one of the easiest matches to cover. I let you know the order of the entrance and who they got thrown out by. So it should be a fun show tomorrow.
And we have $600 on the line, 3 for the men's and 3 for the women's. We did a random drawing. Josh unfortunately did not take part. Don't know why. Maybe he doesn't trust himself, but it's all random. The numbers we don't know who's coming out at what. Nobody has that information. Trust me on that. For all the people that say they're insiders, you don't have who's coming out at 1 to 30 a week before the Rumble. Nobody does. So the live drawing for the women's will be tonight. We already did the men's. I have 3 numbers. They're all right. 27, 29, and 2. Not sure I like that, but I got $600 on the line, so we'll have to wait and see.
Lastly, before we get out of here, let's talk a little bit about the conference championship games that are coming up this weekend.
I love that you want to end with football. I do love that, and I appreciate it. Hopefully our teams will be there because, in the future, because it's been brutal. The last time your Bears were in the conference championship, I believe the same time my Jets were in the conference championship, 2010. I believe. I could be wrong with you guys. You might have been there since then. Have you?
The last time the Bears won a Super Bowl, my dad was 12 years old.
All right. Well, I'm just saying conference championships, they might have been there and lost. I don't remember, but I could tell you the Jets, and I remember the Bears. I remember the Packers played the Bears in 2010, and the Packers won. Yeah. And I believe the Jets played the Pittsburgh Steelers, and the Steelers won. So this weekend's games, one of these things is not like the other with starting quarterbacks, and I think that's Jimmy G, but I think he does such a good job of not making that mistake to cost them a game. I think that Rams game is going to be tight, but I'm going to go with, and that's the later game, folks. The Chiefs and the Bengals are the early game in the NFC Championship between the Rams and the 49ers are the late game. I want to say St. Louis. I was almost going to call them Los Angeles. I think the Rams get it done. And then the Chiefs and the Bengals. It's tough to bet against Joe Burrow. The guy just has it. I think him and Josh Allen are going to be the faces of the AFC for a long time. I know Mahomes is still, that guy, but I don't know. I really like the Bengals. And I only say that because I think Kansas City, they got everyone picking them. I would just like to see an upset. And I hope it's not an upset in the NFC side, but Kansas City, they'll probably come out on top, but if I have to pick one upset, I'd like to see Cincinnati get there, only for that alone, just to have them be in a Super Bowl again.
I picked Cincinnati to be one of my breakout teams for this previous season, and it's a really awesome story for them to reach the AFC Championship game. Kansas City's secondary is trash. I'm just gonna throw it out there. The shootout last week was one of the craziest football games I've seen in the last 4 or 5 years. That was tremendous.
All of those games were insane. All of them were insane. And like you said, it's tough to bet against the Chiefs. They're the best team in the AFC. I don't see them losing on Sunday. But again, I think, if I had to pick one upset, I think the Bengals have the best chance to do it.
Well, my upset is going to be the 49ers. I do think they will beat the Rams. I know a lot of people go after Jimmy G, and that's for better or for worse. But you know what? You know who also had streaks of winning and wasn't a top 10 quarterback in playoffs? Joe Flacco. And I can see Jimmy G maybe give one more heater run towards Super Bowl. I don't know if they're going to win it all, but it all comes at the line of scrimmage. It's in the trenches. Football is always win with offensive line and defensive line. And Shanahan has McVay's number. They're 7-0 in straight up meetings, playoffs, and regular season. And I'm really can see how this game plays out. This is a big statement game for Matthew Stafford, also big for OBJ as well. But I think the 49ers win. I do have the Chiefs winning, but it's going to be a close game. I just think that the passing downfield passing game for the Bengals is going to keep them in the game, and we'll have the 49ers and Chiefs in a rematch of Super Bowl a couple of years ago. The last one with everybody in the stadium.
Might as well give the Super Bowl to Kansas City again if you get that matchup. I mean, if Kansas City gets in, which is very highly likely, okay, obviously there's only 2 teams left, but I'm just saying it's likely that the Chiefs come out and show up on Sunday and take care of business. There's no doubt in my mind. If they get the Rams, it's a tough matchup, especially for them, because the Rams defense is going to come at you. So will the Niners. But the only difference is the Rams have Stafford and the 49ers have Jimmy G. Now, I like Jimmy G, but he's not Matt Stafford. He's not Patrick Mahomes, and he's not even close to Joe Burrow. So that's the difference maker. In a quarterback-driven league, I think that if the Chiefs play the 49ers, it's a wrap. Quick.
If the Rams do win, I'll be happy for my boy Leonard Floyd, who used to be on the Bears. It would be nice to see him get a ring. That'd be pretty cool.
Do you think Tom Brady retires? Switching gears here for a second.
No. I do think Aaron Rodgers will lead the Packers, but I don't think Tom Brady's done yet.
I agree. Where is Aaron Rodgers headed?
Colts.
Ooh, God, I hope not. I am going to go out on a limb here, and I will say that Adams and Rodgers are a package deal. So Aaron Rodgers still has a year left on his Green Bay contract. So Correct. If they could convince Davante Adams to come back to Green Bay for a year and then he could do the whole free agency thing again, I think he goes back, him being Aaron Rodgers. If Davante Adams and Aaron Rodgers get together and Davante says, I'm going to Denver, Aaron, I think, will end up in Denver. If Davante Adams says, I'm going to go to San Francisco, I think Aaron Rodgers ends up in San Francisco. Can you imagine that talent on that team?
I feel bad for Trey Lance, but that's not a bad option.
Right. Trey Lance sits for another 2 years, whatever. And I mean, it's not ideal, but it's a possibility. I mean, the options are open, but they're really not for Aaron Rodgers. There's like 4 possible destinations, and none of them include anybody in the AFC East, because it seems like he's not going to go to Miami, and Miami wants to stick with Tua. And you have the Jets with a young quarterback, the Bills with Josh Allen, and the Patriots with a young quarterback and Mac Jones, right? So it's got to be Denver, Indy, or, San Francisco. Who else in the NFC? Seattle's going to go after him? No. Detroit, he's not signing there. So what do you think? Where do you think he ends up besides Indy? Give me another pick besides Indy.
I could possibly see Pittsburgh being another option.
It's a good one. It's a real good one.
Packers, it's the fact that they're $44 million behind the cap. So I don't know how you're going to bring them and then try to justify Aaron Rodgers that you can even have money to bring somebody else to elevate their offense from the receiver position too. So the Packers are going to be in a bind. I don't think the Giants are going to be in. I just don't see that happening. I get it. Aaron Rodgers in a big market, but I don't see Aaron Rodgers probably wanting to go to the Giants with what they have right now. And as much as Saquon Barkley is a good player, he's injury prone, and that's just not good business for Aaron. So I don't think the Giants. It's either Pittsburgh, San Francisco, or the Colts for me. Those are the 3 for me.
Yeah, and I could see that. I just think that Aaron's going to want the Brady treatment. He's going to want to go somewhere where they can win now. It's not going to take 3-4 years because you might as well stay in Green Bay. And they got to have a solid defense because him and Davante Adams can totally change an offense. But listen, Denver, you got Jerry Jeudy. Their defense is okay. I'm not quite sure that that's, a high, value destination for him or a high priority, but he's going to want to go somewhere where he can win pretty quickly. Pittsburgh, I don't know. Their defense isn't great, but I mean, they could win that division again. Absolutely. They or not win it again. They could definitely win the division, So
I was gonna say the Saints before Sean Payton decided to. Oh, I need a break.
That would have been, you know what? That would have been one of my picks had Sean, like you said, not gone and retired. I agree with you. I think the Saints were a likely destination for Drew Brees, for Aaron Rodgers. I know the Saints called Drew Brees. I mean, Drew Brees has mentioned that. That was mid-season, and he said no. So as soon as Jameis Winston got hurt. So it'll be interesting. I think that's the biggest storyline heading into 2022, 2023 season because Tom Brady's not retiring. Sorry, guys. There's no way.
It's going to be a tremendous weekend, not only for wrestling, but also for football. I'm not going to watch the Pro Bowl, but they are having it at Allegiant Stadium next week. But the Super Bowl will be here before you know it in LA. And it's some fun times, man. And I'm glad that we're able to catch up and talk today. We are about to wrap these up here. Andrew, thank you for hopping on with us. Tell everybody where they can find you on social media and what you have coming up. And, we'll definitely try to get this down.
I still got it. I'm right there at Andrew Baydala. I'm not as active as I was on social media before, just because at the end of the day, there's so much toxicity and I'm busy. But I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not too busy to answer some tweets or something to that extent or put out a post. But it just gets to a point where on Twitter, sometimes it's way too toxic and people just want to argue. They just want to yell. And it's just, I have no time for it. But you can follow me there at Andrew Baydala. I'm happy to, communicate and talk with like-minded people and people who are going to have fun. If you're going to use Twitter as a platform to just be an absolute douche, then I don't know, just not for me.
Yeah, you can't waste energy on people who can't think for themselves or the basis of their arguments is from somebody else's opinion.
No, and that's the beautiful thing about, sports and professional wrestling. Sports more than professional wrestling is the unpredictability, right? Because obviously wrestling is, kids' earmuffs right now. Wrestling is staged. So, they know who the winners are and stuff like that. But this event, that's why I waffled so much, is so fun to watch because you never know. And my opinion is my opinion. You don't like it? Change the channel. You don't like what I say on Twitter? Don't follow me. I don't know what to tell people anymore. It just gets to a point where they just want to yell. Go ahead and yell. I'm just not listening anymore.
Mute, the greatest thing to come to Twitter in a long time.
Some real good people on Twitter. Josh is one of them. Some others. I mean, I believe your buddy Sam. Yes. He's a good follow. We talk about hockey. So some really good people on Twitter. It's just the idiots that ruin it for a lot of people.
Big shout out to to my guy Sam Pioba, who I went to broadcasting school with. I make sure to follow him on Twitter at Second City Sam. He's a gem, and I'd love to have him come on and talk shop on air with us because he's pretty good at doing this stuff too. So shout out to Sam. Folks, you can follow me at Twitter at Josh Lopez Media. Make sure to bookmark ProWrestlingTranscriptions.com. I'll have coverage of the Royal Rumble tomorrow. Also, NWA USA and New Japan Strong will also be doing that. So it's going to be a long day for me tomorrow. Everything as well as New Japan Pro Wrestling, all the fun stuff in AEW as well. I'll be at Dynamite coming up on Wednesday. This should be a good time. My first Dynamite that I'm attending. So I'm curious to see how that experience is as compared to a Rampage show. And also, don't forget, folks, we're 6 episodes away from reaching episode 300. So if you want to send any audio shout-outs, all you have to do is send us an MP3 file to the hootspodcast@gmail.com. The deadline for those are March 9th. Episode 300 will be on March 10th. So thank you guys.
You're on your way to WrestleMania, aren't you?
Yes, I am. Get ready. I'm excited for my 7th WrestleMania. I'm pumped for this one. This should be a damn good time in Dallas, Texas.
This will be my, what is this, 38?
Yeah, right? 38.
God almighty. This is my 15th WrestleMania, folks.
Wow.
Straight. Straight. Time to hang him up. I'm gonna have to wait till my kid is a little older and then I'll bring him. But but we might be coming to the end soon here. It's fun. But 15 in a row might be time to take a break. But you never know. Maybe ticket prices are gonna start going through the roof like they did with the Super Bowl when everybody used to go to every Super Bowl and now they can't get a ticket for under $6,000. So maybe I will keep going. Who knows?
Yeah. and we survived a COVID pandemic WrestleMania in person. So
yeah. Well, nobody attended that WrestleMania, so I'm still counting that because I was going to attend. But yeah, the Tampa WrestleMania was interesting, but we got it done.
You got it done, pal. For Andrew Baydala, I'm Joshy. Shout out to the Stooge out there in Texas, Blake Mitchellmore as well. And we'll catch you guys soon here on the Hoops Podcast for episode 295 next week. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy the Royal Rumble and the conference championship games. I'll talk to you guys next week. Yes, sir.